Microsoft just got screwed over by themselves. Unredacted documents submitted and made publicly available to view as part of the ongoing Microsoft versus FTC trial has just led to what may be the biggest leak in video game history. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content that I create, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media so you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and live streams I create, consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon or a supporter via YouTube memberships. So there is a lot to go through, but I wanted to start off with this Digital Trends article. It says every blockbuster reveal from the Xbox leak, new consoles, Bethesda games, and more. Now, I personally do like Xbox. I think that Microsoft has purchased a lot over the last few years. But I think that they generally know what their audiences want. But unfortunately, with these leaks, there's a lot of question marks being raised about this new console, about future Bethesda games, and kind of their plans. There's just a lot to go through, but it says a flood of files have revealed deep secrets about Xbox's upcoming plans for the bulk of the decade, giving us unprecedented insight into what's on the horizon for the gaming giant. That includes information on upcoming hardware refreshes, next-gen consoles, and unannounced Bethesda titles. So starting off, the most shocking thing to leak as part of the trial is a new Xbox Series X model, referred to as Brooklyn Xbox Series X Refresh. In the leaked documents, this is a diskless cylindrical version of the Xbox Series X, so it's not even in a box anymore, with a 2 terabyte internal storage, a USB-C port, and smaller technical improvements to the system's Wi-Fi, PSU, standby mode, and more. An upgraded Xbox Series S, codenamed Elwood, may also be in the works and released before Brooklyn, but we didn't actually get any information on that one. But it says that the document was originally created in May 2022, and the plan was that it would release in late October 2024 for $500. So we don't actually know if this is going to still happen or if they're going to push that off, more simply because it is a bit of an outdated roadmap, but it's still a roadmap nonetheless. Now, some people have speculated over the past few months that Sony was going to go with the slim model, not a more powerful model like a Pro, because they didn't need to, and now it seems like they wouldn't even have to compete because Microsoft's Xbox Series X redesign is just that. It's more efficient, but it's not more powerful as far as RAM and processing power. And the fact that it comes with a 2 terabyte drive is good, but I think if that's the only major upgrade, it's just not worth it. Faster Wi-Fi, next version of Bluetooth are upgrades, don't get me wrong, but they're not substantial enough. You have to impress people with these mid-gen redesigns, and that doesn't do that for me. I think it's, good to have a mid-gen refresh where you put that new stuff in, but why take out the drive, especially since it's only a refresh? So you have a lot of people who did buy discs, so people like me who wouldn't dare trade my basic Series X, because then my library of games is unusable, or at least most of my library of games is unusable with it. The only thing they could do is sell an external disk drive, and at that point you have to question, are the upgrades really worth it? Because then you have to buy something else on top of just the console. Not including a way to play physical games with this refresh is a huge mistake. Of course, their business model is they'd love everything to be digital, but that's just not the case now. You also have news of a new Xbox controller being in the works. The world's best controller now playing on a screen near you, and there are some, minor changes. They're saying it's more durable, it's more reliable. They are just creating a new controller, and you would be able to, use this just with your base Xbox Series X, just a controller refresh. But then we get into the two largest pieces of information. The first is the next gen console. It says it's hard to believe we're almost already 3 years into this console generation and that Microsoft is planning for its next major console release, but that is the case. Unfortunately, though, its current technical ambitions for the platform were included in this leak. A leaked document states that Microsoft's ultimate goal is to develop a next generation hybrid game platform capable of leveraging the combined power of the client and cloud to deliver deeper immersion in entirely new classes of game experiences. Now, I personally didn't think they really had too many upcoming plans for another console, because when they released the Series X, they were, talking about how they definitely were not going to be pumping out a new console that quickly. But it seems like that may have changed, because again, this is a slightly outdated roadmap. Their original plans, it says in the roadmap, was sometime around 2027 to 2028, but that could have changed. It says, though, in practice, a list of technical improvements lays out that we can expect an ARM64 CPU that balances big and little cores, a GPU co-designed with AMD, and an NPU that balances the desire for flexible, programmable ML silicon versus high-performance silicon for targeted workloads. So we don't actually have any kind of specs or any hard information. These seem pretty standard, I've got to be honest, but we did get some kind of launch window, which I'm sure that they're really pissed about. And we also have Bethesda game leaks. This, for me, is the most interesting piece of information. I love my Series X. I use it. I personally would not be purchasing a mid-gen refresh, especially with no disk drive, but we now have some information on titles like the upcoming Indiana Jones project, and we all kind of figured that it would be releasing in 2024, seeing as they've already started teasing it. This is, of course, Bethesda and Machine Games, and it does look like, yes, it is slated for 2024 release, but it also included names of several projects like remasters of Oblivion and Fallout 3, a Ghostwire Tokyo sequel, Doom Year Zero, and Dishonored 3. So there's a lot here. First of all, I am so hyped to hear that they are going to be remastering Oblivion. I'm sure so many of you are as well. That, to me, is like the biggest piece of information that I know everyone's going to be excited for. And Fallout 3. Fallout 3 is a very good game. I am actually pretty happy to hear this as well. Honestly, both of these remasters are on point, because looking at their library of games, these are the two, in my opinion, that deserved remasters the most. A Ghostwire Tokyo sequel is very confusing to me, because I played Ghostwire Tokyo and I was originally so hyped for it, and it just ended up being so lackluster. Like, the environments were pretty, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the mechanics were extremely clunky. It didn't run the way I expected, and the mobs just were not very original. They were just kind of uninspired, and the game overall just really did not live up to the hype. I couldn't really find a lot on sales numbers for this game, so it's safe to assume that it sold pretty good. But yeah, Dishonored 3, I think that people also would be looking forward to that. Dishonored is good, and we've been waiting years for number 3. But to me, one of the other most exciting pieces of information is Doom Year Zero. I love Doom. I'm so happy to see that they're doing more with Doom. Of course, Eternal was a very good game. It also got DLC that sold really well, and Doom is just something that I'm glad that they're banking on. I'm a little sad that throughout all of these leaks, we've heard absolutely nothing about Halo. It does sadly seem like Microsoft is kind of putting Halo on the back burner. We had heard a couple of months ago that that seemed to be the plan internally, but it wasn't confirmed, and it just kind of seems like that is the case. They're definitely going to be banking on Doom, at least for a little while, which I'm okay with. I love Doom, but I still would like to see Master Chief back in action. But another document also confirmed that Elder Scrolls 6 will not launch until at least 2026, and that seems pretty self-explanatory. That seems pretty standard because we only just recently heard that it went into pre-production. So they have this story written, they have, characters written out, but now they have to actually create the game. 2026 does seem like a pretty standard target date. Honestly, I feel like they're probably going to need a little bit more time with it, seeing as they only just started in production. But who knows? I mean, they have really big teams. And plus, another thing we found out about Elder Scrolls 6 is that there's no plans for it to release on the PlayStation 5, which is a massive blow to Sony. And looking at the Starfield numbers, Starfield has now been played by over 10 million people, so Microsoft knows they don't need to launch on the PlayStation to get numbers. Obviously, this sucks for people with PlayStation 5s, but it just shows you that Microsoft's true intent in buying all of these developers was for exclusive content, no matter what their rhetoric in court was, but it is what it is. Just play it on PC if you are not down for the console wars. Microsoft also considered acquiring Nintendo and Warner Brothers Interactive, and they also were allegedly in talks with Valve. These are major purchases, and while I, don't think that Microsoft's past of in their history of purchasing other companies has been bad, because I do think it was better for Bethesda that they were purchased. Of course, we have Activision Blizzard in that situation. I just feel like Phil Spencer has a lot of plans, and Phil Spencer has made a lot of big purchases. He has done a lot to positively change Xbox, don't get me wrong, but purchasing Nintendo, I mean, they could do it. They could do it. But would that be good for the gaming industry? I don't particularly think so. I don't think that one company should own everything, or most major companies. I mean, buying Bethesda was one thing, buying Activision Blizzard was another, but buying something like Nintendo or Warner Brothers Interactive or Valve would be very, very different in my opinion. It's funny to speculate over, don't get me wrong. Having, the next Mario game going to Game Pass day one would be pretty freaking hilarious. But yeah, these are most of the major leaks. There is a lot that unfortunately has leaked for Microsoft. I'm sure that they're freaking out behind the scenes. Nothing that we can really do about it though, let's be honest. I mean, they leaked it themselves. It's only their fault. And while some people do feel bad, other people are just happy to have a roadmap to understand what their plans are for the next few years, and people are getting pretty hyped about some of the remasters, upcoming titles, and even the potential next generation console that will be releasing in 2028. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel, and of course if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.